Hello and welcome to the Rio Knits Knitting Podcast. My name is Rhiannon. I'm your host. Welcome to my living room. It is a cold and dreary day here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I live with my wife and cats. And I really like this weather. I think it's got a nice cozy vibe. So I've lit a candle, I've made myself a cup of tea, and I've decided to come on here and just share with you what I've been working on. So the last time I recorded, I was working on this sweater, which is the Niji pullover by Eri Shimizu. I knit this in the recommended yarn of Gilead by Deverum Natura, and I have just a couple little balls left. So for the size that was recommended and the amount of yarn that was recommended, it was just perfect. And I even made mine longer. So I think I may have bought more yarn knowing I would do that, but I'm not sure. I have definitely less than one ball of yarn left, which is always my goal with every project when I buy a sweater quantity of yarn. I kind of want to use it up, but have a little bit for repairs down the road. If I remember to, I will insert some footage of me like kind of modeling it. When I stand up in front of the camera, it's not always easy to see like the details of it, and also the angle can be kind of weird. But I will just show you a little bit of the details here. So the collar is picked up and knit last. I thought it was going to be really too tight when I did it, but after blocking it stretched out and was perfect. The raglan has these really cool lines that go down, and then it continues, and they meet on the side for this really cool like upside down rainbow kind of thing. The back has a split hem, and the back of the neck has a split hem, which is kind of like a faux split hem most of the way up and then splits at the very end. So I was drawn to this because it had all these cool details, and I'm really glad that I went with all of them. I'm also glad I knit this at more of a tunic length because I deal with pretty extreme winter weather here, and sometimes there's just like nothing better than just like a big sweater. And I think a lot of patterns are designing sweaters to be big as in oversized, so they're really wide, but not many think about length. And when it's really cold and windy, you want that length because it keeps your whole core warm. And I also knit this in part because I really wanted to work with Gilead. It was my first time working with this yarn and this brand. I'm very pleased with it. I will definitely be doing knitting with this more and trying out different yarns and their different lines of yarn. Okay, there is no good light in my home, so I'm gonna stand here between the living room and the dining room and show you my sweater. So as you can see, it is nice and long. It is not as oversized as the pattern originally calls for. I didn't want to make it, yay wide, but it is still, it's still got ease to it. I don't know if you can see that split hem. There you go. There it is. And then if there's any way, I have no idea how to show the split neckline. Is that even showing up? I think it must be. But yeah, this is my Niji. It is doing that thing that raglans do, right? This is an ongoing issue for me personally, where as raglans ride up, the way that the way the shoulders are shaped, I get this like fabric that's just kind of hanging out over my bust. I also think this, I don't know if it's the gauge or the yarn or what, but it creases a lot. Like you can almost see lines. Like look, I just grabbed at it and now there's like a crease. But like when I sit down, of course the sweater is like jumbled and folded, right? And then those folds just kind of stay there. I don't know what causes that, but yeah, that's like my one little complaint about it. But otherwise, I think it's so cute. I think the neckline especially came out just the way I wanted it. I did make it shorter than the pattern called for it again, but it fits nice and close without being tight. So it's a win. I don't know why I get like kind of breathy sometimes when I'm recording. I think it's just, this isn't how I normally talk. This is a very different, it's a one-sided conversation, so maybe that's what it is. The last time I recorded, I was also working on the hibernal hat, which is a pattern by Summer Lee. I knit it in the recommended yarn, which was the Hedgehog Fibers Tweedy, and I can never remember the name of the yarn that I used, but it will be, you know, on my Ravelry and everything. It's just this nice light green that I think you could call it sage, you could call it sea foam, but it's got these beautiful flecks of tweed that are kind of like neon, and then occasionally a not so neon color. So if you liked that Neons and Neutrals book that La Bien-Aimée did, I feel like this would be right up your alley too. This does remind me a lot of the Corey Worsted, just because it's kind of got the same vibe, as it's not a conventional tweed. So I did everything but block this. I'm going to put it on briefly just so you can see. I went for the version that has the fold up brim. Again, Wisconsin is cold. If I'm putting a hat on, it's for warmth. It's not for the aesthetic of it. You know, although I think this has a really cute aesthetic. You may be wondering then, since I finished everything I was working on last time, what am I knitting now? For the maybe second time in my knitting journey, I actually had a break between projects where I didn't know what to cast on next. This is super rare. I often have, you know, 5 whips happening at once. And to be fair, I do have a pair of socks that have been on the needles for like a year now. And I have just zero motivation to knit them. And when I look at my sock collection, I don't really need socks. It's kind of at that point with pullovers now. I have knit so many pullovers, I can hardly keep up with washing them, because I am a person who, I have to wash my sweaters like every 5 to 10 wears. I know some people are like, I wash it once a year, and I'm like, well, good for you. So I have a lot of hand knit pullovers at this point. And yeah, there's patterns I still want to make, and I have yarn for things I still want to make, but I really only need, I think, cardigans. So I have cast on a cardigan pattern. Let's pull it out. I bought a sweater quantity of Amble from the Fiber Company because they're shutting down, and this has been a really rough past 6 to 12 months, I guess. First it was Brooklyn Tweed, which was like yarn that I love. My favorite hand knit sweater was made with Brooklyn Tweed, and I feel like I regret every time I had the opportunity to purchase a sweater quantity of Brooklyn Tweed and didn't. I did manage to get a couple sweater quantities before they fully stopped being available, but kind of wish I had got more, honestly. I always wanted a sweater quantity of Shelter for that blue cardigan that Jared Flood designed. I can't even remember the name of it right now, but it's I think it's meant to be a men's cardigan, but I would wear the crap out of that. I don't care. Anyway, I had to get some Amble. I always wanted to make a sweater with this for a long time, so I did. And I surprised myself by going for this color that is a light cool gray called Easel. It's either Easel or Isel. I'm not sure. But it is just a soft kind of regular heather gray. It makes me think of like the most generic sweatshirt that you could buy that's just like a heather gray, a really soft color that would look good on everybody. Now, I feel like it might not be showing up to my advantage here because I'm wearing this like bright pink, and also the light in this room is very yellow because of that lamp that's over that way. But it is a very nice color. and I'm knitting, I should say, the pattern that I'm making. It's called Yorlin, and it's by Kate Davies. It's a raglan cardigan, which, you know, I'm not a huge raglan girly, but I knit this one and it seems to be working. So, and I saw this one and thought it was just too pretty not to try. So I'm gonna like put it on. I guess basically the way that it works is you're working these 2 lace panels as you're doing the raglan increases, and then once it's all ready for separation, you just have those lace panels all the way down the front. It's really pretty. It looks like hearts, like just hearts layered up on each other, which, you know, if you remember, I did that brioche hearts shawl. I like hearts. I'm a simple gal. I like these simple things. But this, I felt like was just such a cute motif, and it just kind of elevates what is otherwise a very simple cardigan. I was really also impressed by the pattern photos. So the way that it's styled in the photos, you can see that it's being worn with like a fit and flare kind of dress, which is, you know, a lot of cardigans are styled that way, but it's a little bit longer than the sort of, I guess, commonplace like cropped cardigan that you see with skirts and dresses. But it looks good. It looks good. It looks super comfortable. I feel like it's a length that could be worn with pants as well as skirts. It would look super good over like a button-up shirt. I mean, it's just a very versatile garment. It's enough of a basic that if you wore it with, like, say, a highly patterned dress or a highly patterned blouse, like, it would work. But it's also enough of a design, like a, you know, lace work design, that if you wore it with like a plain t-shirt and jeans, it would still look really cool. That's what I mean when I say it's a versatile garment. It's like the length kind of gives you options and the style gives you options. And I just saw it and I thought, you know what, that's what this gray yarn is for. That's why I bought this gray yarn. That's why I chose gray, because I'm going to get a lot of use out of a gray cardigan. Now, I sort of hesitated because the one commercially made, like purchased, non-handmade cardigan I have that I wear all the time is more or less the same shade of gray, but it's cotton and it has pockets, so it's a little different. But then I thought, why hesitate? Because I get a ton of use out of that, and why not have one that's different? This is different enough. It's got lace, you know, it's a little longer, it's a different material, so I'm going for it and I'm happy. And this yarn is really, really soft. So this is a, I want to say 70% merino, 20% alpaca, and 10% nylon blend. So Amble is designed to be a sock yarn if you want it to be a sock yarn. If I have enough left over, I think a matching pair of socks would be kind of cool to have, but it's not necessary. You can see it's got a very simple raglan shape, so there's really nothing to draw attention away from that beautiful lace, 2 lace panels down the front. I will have to find the right buttons for it. I actually think maybe some of the buttons I have these like pearlescent silver gray buttons that I tried to put on a Felix cardigan that I knit like 2 years ago, and they ended up being too small for it, so they just slide off all the time. Plus that cardigan, I knit it with Let Lopey and I actually hated it. Like I want so much to be that rustic wool girl, but my skin is becoming more sensitive, perhaps related to age or hormone changes. So I am now knitting something with alpaca, but I think that those buttons could work. Anyway, it'll really come down to whether they're the right shade of gray, because that can make a big difference. You know, if it's too warm or too cool or something like that could really impact it. But that's my, I would say, main project in general. This is a longer term project. I have a trip planned in the future to Spain, and so I'm calling it my Yorlin for Spain. If you look on Ravelry, that's what it'll be called. And I don't know if I will actually need this there, but I figured having a cardigan with me would be good for like if the weather is randomly colder than I expect. Okay, so the other project that I have been working on, and that has really occupied all of my thoughts for the last like week and a half. I mean, it's wild how obsessed I've become with this. It's astonishing. So here it is in this bag. I have been making, of all things, a crochet amigurumi. So this is the Vampire Armand. What I should say is I'd like you to meet the love of my life, the Vampire Armand. If you've watched the TV show AMC's Interview with the Vampire, you'll recognize that line. But here he is so far. Did I hand sew a tiny wool coat for him? Absolutely. In the TV show, he's pictured wearing a lot of like big wool trench coats and like big coats, so he had to have it. I also made some little clothes. So the pants are wool, the shirt is linen and rayon, as if you care. All of the yarn is stuff from Stash. So I think it is Mondim? No. Oh, I always mix up Retrosaria and another brand. So no, I think it is Mondim for the yes, okay. The body is Mondim in like a brownish color. And then the hair is made with Wool Dreamer's Cautiva, which is left over from my care sweater. I was obsessed with this technique of creating curls that I found on a YouTube video. If I can find it again, I will link it because it's very cool if you ever decide to go down this road. And then I got the little button eyes yesterday at a new fiber art store here. It's actually in South Milwaukee, which is strangely enough a completely different city than Milwaukee. But yeah, I went down to La Merceria. I was like, I hope they have buttons, and they sure did. And I got buttons for his eyes, and I got buttons for the eyes of the next doll, which apparently there's going to be a next doll. So I would say I'm like 90% done with this. So I've got to do a little bit of work on the sleeve of the coat. It didn't come out quite right. So there will be a little work done on there. He needs a mouth. He needs some little fangs. And he needs a little iPad, which I'm going to be making him. Because in the show, again, he's got like an iPad all the time. So I just figured like he needs a little accessory. I am just so... I'm like, my mind is blown that I have become a crochet doll person because I'm not even much of a crocheter. Like I have one crochet project that is in hibernation that I fully intended would take me several years to make. It's the Battenberg blanket. Everybody makes it as like their first crochet project, and everybody takes like 3 to 10 years to complete it. So I don't crochet very much, but strangely enough, when you're motivated to make something, you will make it. And I saw other people making little crochet dolls of the different vampire characters from the Vampire Chronicles, and I thought, I gotta do that. And so I reached out to someone. She sent me this the link to the pattern for like the basic chibi body. So this is the pattern is basic chibi body. No, Chibi Basic Body by Crochet Thea. Her name is Sabathia Natalie, but she goes by Crochet Thea. So I see a lot of people do these chibis and they just sort of change the color to create like clothes and hair and stuff. But I wanted to just like fully go to town on like how elaborate can I make this, and also it's tiny, so it's not going to take that long. But yeah, I keep forgetting to put him like right on the screen, but yeah, there he is. So all of these, like, you can, I put the clothes on. I didn't like sew them onto his body, but I did sew the shirt shut, so it'd be hard to remove that, but everything else, like, it can, it is like a separate piece. Like, his coat comes off, right? Like, there he is. So cute. So cute. It's really hard to make pants for a little chibi, so what I did is basically made a skirt and then just like seamed up the center, because the legs are literally like 4 rows tall. But I mean, I'm just like obsessed with the hair. Like, it's so great. And I even like, I took a still shot from the show where I thought his hair was looking especially great, and like tried to mimic that. So if you look on my Ravelry page, you'll see the photo, and I think you'll agree that I totally nailed it with the hair. It's a little fluffier on one side than the other, and I think I could add more, but I wanted to just share, I did have to create like 20 to 50 individual pieces of hair and attach them one at a time. It doesn't take that long. It's really fun, and it's really kind of cool to be, placing all these little, basically like bits of wig on the doll's head, and then figure out exactly how you want it to be. So, yeah, I think if you need a little spot of joy in your life, consider a little crochet chibi. And I think I mentioned this with the last one when I bought like those pins that were like the Chibi Armand and the Chibi Daniel. I love chibi. Like, I love pushing. I love tiny things, like it's really joyful. Life's tough right now. Do things that make you happy. So that is my other project that is consumed most of my time. The next little doll I'm going to make, I think I'm probably going to do Lestat next. And then I'm going to probably make more characters. But yeah, I think that's the next one I'm going to do. So fully a crochet amigurumi person now. I get it. I didn't get it for a long time. I think it's just one of those things where with the crochet dolls, like, if you like something enough, you will want to like craft about it, or make art about it. And I will be making art about Vampire Chronicles. I'll just make that plain, because I do have some paintings to share, and I thought about not sharing these just because it is a little bit, I don't know, it feels kind of, for me, maybe a little cringe to be like, I'm just fully obsessed with this series, and maybe this knitting channel just becomes like a Vampire Chronicles obsessed channel. I don't know. Probably not forever, but for a while. It's my disassociation of choice these days. I think that I'm just gonna go ahead and share my paintings because I'm proud of them and I like the work, and I've been trying to embrace the mantra of like, I am cringe, but I am free. So, the last time I showed you that painting with like the pomegranates and then the other one, and I wanted to kind of stick with that color palette. It felt really good to me to be working with that color palette. So I'm actually painting a portrait of Daniel Malloy from Interview with the Vampire. So I have stuck with that color palette. I've been just like working on it bit by bit. And I am really impressed. First of all, that I can paint a portrait. I didn't think I'd be able to paint a portrait, but I'm also really impressed by just the process itself and the choices that I have to make and what it kind of how it gets me thinking. So the first thing I want to talk about is I did this in another painting, but I tried to do this technique called impasto, where you basically are creating texture. And because he has curly hair, I am really into like that texture, and like it's an opportunity. Who would have thought, like a fiber person obsessed with hair? Like, Come on. And then the other thing is I haven't really got into the sweater yet, but I'm very excited to sort of create that, like that look of like knitted fabric. So it is it's like a knit jacket kind of, and then it has this like ribbed collar. So I can't wait to like really dig into that. But in the meantime, I feel like I'm just like creating, and I think one of the really cool things about portraits is that you look and you look and you look and you look at a face and you notice all of these things about that face, right? Like we all have an idea of a face and we can all draw like a happy face, right? And we understand like it's like a universal language. This represents a person, a human face. But every face is so different, and the way that shadow hits a face and the way that you know, somebody's eyelid is just shaped a little different than it maybe any other eyelid you can remember looking at before. All of this stuff is just really fun. I'm finding it so fun to just like refer back to my my initial, like the photo. I'm basically working from a photo, and it started with this painting. I'll just show you this one again with the pomegranate. It started with this exercise in my painting class where you take a photo and you make it black and white, and you notice like what are the light, medium, and dark kind of tones in it. And so then you paint. In my case, I painted first the dark tones, and I did that for this, created, you know, the dark parts of the image. And I also did that for this portrait. So that kind of gives you like a sketch of what you're trying to create. Now I am working from, like I said, a photo, and I just sort of like printed it too in a very like washed out, like brightness turned all the way up, so that I can just see like where is the light hitting the face, right? Like what are the areas where when you turn the brightness up, like everything disappears or blends away. And then also if you turn the brightness all the way down or you turn the shadows all the way up, like what are the areas? So that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm just trying to like work with the same color palette. I am going to be making I think I'm going to do a reverse portrait of Armand where it's this like a blue background, and then you know, the color palette will be this sort of pomegranate. You know, there's like a corally orange, there's a in between red, and then there's this like purple, like it's like, or it's, I would say like coral, blackberry, and blood. Those are kind of the colors. And then a sky blue. And so this one is, you know, being the opposite. I went with just the coral, and then I've got like navy and stuff going on. But again, it's like all these choices I'm making about like how many shades of blue can I use? Do I want to like give myself permission to use? What I'm really trying to do is create one base shade and then only add white or black so that it's all, well, I say trying to do, that is literally all I'm doing. But trying not to add, you know, be like, add more of this blue or whatever, like don't take it in another direction, just lighter and darker iterations of the same thing. Yeah, so that's one painting. I have prepped the background, or started to prep the background. This is my like board that I paint on for the Armand portrait. It's got clouds because that's like a book reference. So I don't know, we'll see how that goes. Another painting that I did that is just like a little more, I guess, personal is this one. I've titled it Who We Are, and it is the hat that Liam Ramos was wearing in that very iconic photo that I'm sure I'll be looking at for the rest of my life. We'll all be seeing it for the rest of our lives. A little boy who was basically kidnapped by ICE and used as bait to get his father to surrender himself. And I think that image just like hit a lot of people because it's agents of the state taking a 5-year-old and using him as bait. But there's something so innocent about the little hat with the bunny ears. And so this painting just felt really personal to me. I think I've definitely talked on here before about how I feel like in discussions of politics and of everything that's happening, the attacks on the Latino community are just not met with the level of seriousness that I wish that they were. It's almost like people have something against saying that this is a particular population that has been targeted for over 10 years by the same group of people. And that it's not only part of a bigger problem, that it is very much a targeted attack on Latinos and Hispanic and Latino people in the United States. That there is a very intentional, conscious effort to eliminate people. And I even find myself struggling to come up with the right words to say in this moment, because I think it's just like not something that gets acknowledged. People use the word genocide to describe what's happening in other parts of the world. And they'll even go so far as to say, these are the stages of a genocide: dehumanizing language, making it difficult for people to move around or get jobs or live a regular life, making it difficult for people to escape a certain social station. All of these things that have happened and that are happening. And I think it's just like, it's kind of mind-boggling to me that it feels like no one wants to name it, and they still just don't want to name it. So I don't know, I felt like that image of Liam Ramos really captured something, and for some reason, I felt compelled to like paint this. And I think like this is, from a purely technical standpoint, this was the painting where I kind of got a sense of what I want to do with backgrounds and creating, depth of background, I guess. So the background is not a solid color. It's also, I really enjoyed the knitwear, and I did a little bit of that impasto technique, and so I want to incorporate that into another painting where I'm, working again with knitwear and like texture. So, I also did some texture on the like bunny ear. So, all right, there's that. It's so funny because I started painting to kind of get my mind off of things, and then this was like something I created and then was immediately like, I like it, but I don't want to do more things like that. Another thing is that I'm painting just for my own pleasure, and so I'm going to paint things that I want to paint. So if I want a blue and orange Daniel Malloy, like, by God, I'm going to paint that. But I have had people already say to me, and these are people who, are working artists, are you going to sell your paintings? Are you going to be? And my knee-jerk reaction is like, hell no, I'm putting all this work in because I want it, because I want a blue and orange Daniel Malloy. Like, I want to work with this color palette. I want to see what I can do with, creating texture and creating, like a vibrant, expression-filled kind of portrait. But I did think that because this was so well liked, that I might make prints of it, and then if I sold them, I could use it as a fundraiser for something. So that might be something I do. Generally speaking, though, I'm just struggling a lot with like this idea that I would monetize this, because I find that there's not a lot of joy in that. And where I found the most joy with my knitting, for example, is when I make things that are just for me. Now, I got inspired to make this little doll because somebody was making and selling little dolls, and I see something like that and I go, oh, I'd love to have that, but more than that, I'd love to make it. You know, I'd love to make every single choice about the, you know, the colors I use and the, you know, the techniques I use and all of that. Same with, you know, like, I'm knitting from a pattern, but I loved being able to change the yarn and the color of the sweater. You know, it's like I'm making it for me. So I'm making art that is really just for me. And I guess my reflection here is that it feels really good that I automatically knew that, because when I first started knitting, I think the instinct was, well, I'll make myself a scarf, and then I'll make my friend a scarf, and then I'll make someone else a scarf, and I'll make something for someone else. And I wasn't selling them, I was just giving them away, but it still was like the instinct was, well, if I can make 10 of a thing, I should be making them for 10 people, because it's selfish to keep them all to yourself. But it's not, you know, it's like, it's my labor, it's my resources, so I should have as many as I want. If I want to have, you know, 50 pullovers and not enough time to wash them all, like, that's on me. I can do that, you know. And then the other thing is that after I was, you know, knitting for a while, I started to have ideas of like, well, what if I did something like this? What if I did something like that? And then I thought like, oh, I should, you know, make knitting patterns and sell them. And then I realized as I was trying to do that, that one, it's hard, and not for the reasons that I thought it would be. But it's hard because there are enough people doing this full-time for a living that the industry has like a life of its own, and now customers have this expectation, right? They have an expectation that you're going to answer their questions about the design. They have an expectation that you're going to help them choose the yarn. They have an expectation that things will be sized up the way they want them sized up. And I've seen like designers get called to the mat for sizing things where there's less ease as you go up, which is exactly how I knit things as someone who's like living in a bigger body. But it's somehow seen as like discriminatory against larger people, when in fact that is how I prefer things to fit. So I think, you know, there's just all of these expectations around how it looks, and do you have a website, and, you know, all of this, that I think the thought of even if I wanted to, you know, put this design on a t-shirt or whatever, like I do see people doing that, especially with like fan art. It just feels so like, I don't know, but I'm kind of glad that I'm at a point now where I'm like, no, absolutely not. I only want to just like paint things for my own viewing pleasure. Like, I might share it with people. I might like post a picture online so they can look at it or whatever, but like I'm not concerned about what happens to it after that. Like, I guess maybe I should be if somebody like takes a picture that I do and then like puts it on a t-shirt and sells it, but honestly, I just don't have the energy. I'm, you know, I'm the one that made this, and I made it for me. So yeah, that was kind of a tangent, but I just felt like, I don't know, like it's just kind of weird that the reaction people have to like, you're even a little bit good at something. And I just, you know, I think I'm good at painting, like, but I think I'm also very like beginner good, you know, like I just don't know what I don't know. And there's a lot of skill and knowledge that I'm going to gain by doing it that I couldn't possibly have yet. So, but it's odd that I think people jump to that, you know, how are you going to monetize your passion? And I don't know. Yeah, I just really don't want to. So that is basically it. I think I wanted to record some more book reviews. I have finished both Gideon the Ninth and the Vampire Lestat, so those are going to be my next videos that I record. So if you're not into book reviews, I guess I won't see you for a while, or you won't see me. And yeah, that's kind of it. If you need shit to knit to, I started watching 2 new TV shows that I think are pretty great. One is an older one called Hotel Portofino. It's on PBS Passport, and I'm watching it primarily because just so many people have recommended it, and it is a little scary, I guess, like in the subject matter, but it's this like really beautiful, like visually stunning Italian Riviera hotel, and then people dealing with fascism in like the 1930s or something. And if you have watched Interview with the Vampire, the same actor who plays Armand is in this show too, and he is acting the shit out of this role too, so pretty cool. I also started a show called Dark Winds on AMC that is starring Zan McClarnon, who is just like, he always plays a cop, but he always does it so well. I like, my wife and I are like, this guy's cool, like I want to meet him, I want to shake his hand. But he's just a really entertaining actor. And then trying to think of who else is in it. I don't know, I think this cast is 90% Indigenous American actors, so like all like Native American cast pretty much, with a few notable exceptions. But that is, first of all, that's just like really cool and amazing. But secondly, it's based off of a series of mystery novels that I think were published in like the 90s by Tony Hillerman. So I read these when I was a kid because my mom was reading them, and I just read whatever was around the house. So Dark Winds, highly recommend it. If you like procedural police dramas, murder mystery, or investigative kind of stuff, and you like a little bit of supernatural stuff like sprinkled in there, like it's not too heavy on it, but it's like in there, I think you would really like this show. And it's also just like visually, I think, yeah, it's kind of a feast for the eyes too. There's a lot of like beautiful landscape kind of, you know. And then as for books, I am reading Queen of the Damned. That'll be a review too someday. I really haven't read any nonfiction in a long time. My next nonfiction, a book I just got, will be The Culting of America by Danielle Mestianek Young. So I read her memoir, Uncultured. Was that the name of it? Last year or maybe the year before, and I've been waiting for this other book for a while. You might know her from her various social media accounts, The Knitting Cult Lady. She's pretty cool. Okay, so that's everything. I hope that whatever projects you're working on, they're keeping you happy and they're helping you focus on growth and creativity and personal joy rather than just whatever, you know, doom-filled omens are hanging out there. And I really do wish you all a really great spring. I'm dying for more green stuff to emerge from the ground and for the weather to improve. We do have a few little things starting to poke up from the soil, so that's pretty great. I know things are hard, but just hang on and focus on what you're creating, what you can create, and you'll get through it. All right, thanks.